So good morning and welcome to another episode of Better Business, Better Life. Today I have got Steve Morris with me, who is a professional EOS implementer based now in Baltimore, but originally from New Zealand. Is that right, Steve?
Yes. Good morning, Debra. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Hey, look, I'm really excited to hear from you because I know that you're a passionate sailor. And obviously here in New Zealand, we're very fond of our sailing, as are the Americans. So tell me a little bit about your story, please, Steve.
Well, sure. So you can see behind me on the wall up here, this white boat, and that's Fisher and Paykel, New Zealand. So my first job out of college was working for Grant Dawson on Fisher and Paykel back in 1988, 1989. It's a while ago now. But that's how I got started with my whole career. And it's been a really interesting journey. But I can still remember back kind of coming out of engineering school thinking I was going to be a designer. And then instead, my first job responsibility was getting up in the morning at 6 o'clock and going to the gym and seeing how much, iron weight we could lift off the floor, training with the crew and things like that.
Okay. And so Grant is a bit of a well-known man over here. What was it like working with him?
So Grant's a really cool and interesting guy. I mean, I still now, follow the news and, I haven't talked to him for a while, but keeping in touch with what he's been doing on the news and just, seeing this person who has this incredible tenacity and perseverance, right, to keep on pushing forward. Yep. And that's who he was, back when I was working for him and, he was the skipper on Fisher and Paykel. Just this drive, right, to be able to keep continually pushing the team forward, having that vision for where we needed to get to go, and then, really pulling a team together around that and everything that we needed to do to be able to be successful on that boat. So it was a wonderful start to my career to be able to work for somebody like that and to be able to see, really what incredible leadership really was.
Fantastic. So what would you say is the one thing that stands out for you in terms of that leadership that you've taken forward into, because you've run your own businesses as well, and you've obviously worked with other people. What have you taken out of that experience into your own business world?
Well, that's what I saw in Grant is, that tenacity and that perseverance and that ability just to keep on going despite obstacles and despite all of the other things that are coming in. And I think there's something about that perseverance that I've kept close to myself as well. And, as running a business is not, easy at all, right? And there's always things happening every single day. And particularly in EOS, we talk about, these 136 things that are coming at, business owners every single day. And then just having that perseverance to be able to keep moving forward, to solve those issues, to be able to keep the company moving forward. Something that I've really seen, I've taken that to heart and used in my own business.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a bit about your own business.
Well, so I've had quite an interesting career over the last, since I worked for Grant. I actually ended up coming here to the United States and working for Bruce Farr and Russell Bowler at Farr Yacht Design for many years, designing America's Cup boats and other, Volvo ocean race boats. At one stage, Grant was, well, several times, I guess, along through there, Grant was one of our clients, as were a lot of other, really incredible, driven people in business. This model here is Oracle Racing. So Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, was one of our clients for many years. So just to be able to work with people like that, to have them as our clients, and to be in a position where we were kind of, really responding to that. They set an incredibly high bar, right? They wanted to win, because they're already successful in business, and then they wanted to bring that success into the sailing world and to compete and to win. So I really learned a lot about leadership, about bringing together systems and processes, all of the things that we talk about in EOS, and bringing together teams to be able to help our clients be successful. And then after that, I spent 10 years becoming a certified project manager and helping the US Navy here in Washington, DC, which is near where I am here in Maryland. And then I started my own business 6 years ago, really around this mission and this passion to help people, teams, and businesses get unstuck and sail forward, as I like to say.
Nice analogy. I love it. Okay, and so you're now a professional EOS implementer. What brought you on that journey?
So I was doing a lot of leadership team development work with my clients in my business, and really sort of seeing like I was able to get them sort of so far down the track of becoming more healthy and successful as a team. But then I was sort of searching for something a little bit deeper with a little bit more structure around it. And I was introduced to traction in EOS, and I immediately fell in love, because here last I sort of had found these tools that I wished I'd had, you know, back when I was in the yacht design days and pulling together teams and running a yacht design business, but also to have a framework that had been used. It's a complete proven system of a simple set of practical tools that have been used in 10,000 businesses.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of all of the testing and the trialing of that, you know, has been done. And now we have this set of tools that we know that when we apply them in the framework that we have and work with our clients, and we go on the journey that we go on with our clients, then we will get to success. And I just love that.
Yeah. I also love the fact that it is based on, you know, amazing brains around the world, and bringing all this kind of knowledge together into something that's very simple. Because I think that as entrepreneurs, we tend to, if things are a little bit too broad, we can get carried away with that. So by really simplifying it down, I think makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, you talked about how sailing and building boats and things is very similar to running a business. Tell me more about how you think, you know, EOS it relates to yachting, to business. Just give me more of your story. I'd really be keen to hear a little bit more about that.
Right. So, I mean, in EOS, we talk about these 6 components that we are working with our business clients to strengthen these 6 components in the business.
Yeah.
You know, and the first one is vision, right? And getting everybody in the leadership team on the same page with where you're going and how you're going to get there. And, you know, when we're working in these sailing teams, you know, there's some interesting aspects of that, because, you know, the vision, like, where are we going? Well, that's a very defined thing. You know, we're going to win the America's Cup. We're going to win the Round the World Yacht Race, the Volvo race, those sorts of things. Yeah. But even still, you know, underneath that vision, that's really getting everybody on the same page about how we were going to do that, oftentimes, you know, could be more challenging. And these components that we work on with our clients around establishing core values, right? Like, who are we as a team? It's so incredibly important. And you know, as I look back over my career, and as I look back with the really successful teams that we worked with, and other teams that, you know, had resources but weren't so successful, I really sort of see that those successful teams were built around this idea of establishing core values and figuring out, like, you know, who we really are as a team, and then being very deliberate and intentional about how those were used, you know, as the team was put together.
Absolutely. Hey, have you ever seen any sort of challenges around getting people on that same page?
Well, yes. And that's, you know, I think the second component that we talk about when we're working with our clients is the people component, right? So, of course, you know, the crew on these boats, and bringing, in fact, the whole team together, not just the crew, but all the support people, and us as designers, that was so critical. And, you know, when we work with our EOS clients, we talk about 2 components there: right people, right seats. Okay.
Yep.
And so right people are people who share our organizational core values, and right seats are people who are really great at their job. And when I look at that, you know, I sort of see, well, when we had these really successful teams, and perhaps, you know, when we had great resources, like, the temptation is to just go and, you know, hire and contract the best people that you can find, like the most expensive, the top sailors. Let's just get them all, right? Top shelf the whole way. But then you get everybody in a room like that, and that's when it's sort of like it starts getting a little bit, you know, why are these people here? What are their motivations? You know, and if we haven't had that conversation and that intentionality around core values, then it didn't work, right? Just sort of getting all of the very best people and putting them in the room doesn't mean that they're going to work together. And you know, one of the best campaigns that I still remember that I worked with was actually the Ilbrook Round the World campaign. This is way back in 2001, 2002. You know, the skipper, John Kostecki, was an American. He had Ross Halcrow, who was a Kiwi and one of my crewmates on Fisher and Paykel. They were so intentional about how they built that team. And it really was around this idea of core values and who are we as a team, and each new person coming onto the team, did they fit? Yeah. Did they fit on the team? Did they fit the culture like a glove? You know, are they really coming in and bonding on the team? And then that, you know, when I'd go sailing with them, it was a very different environment than I had experienced oftentimes. And of course, they went and dominated, you know, that edition of the Volvo Around the World yacht race and won. Yep. So the proof's in the in the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay, so beyond, so obviously, yes, having a strong vision, understanding why you exist, having the same sort of core, getting some really clear core values and making sure you've got those right people in the right seats doing the right thing is really important. What's next?
Well, so the third component that we work on with our clients is data, right? And so this is, you know, in the business context, we talk about making decisions on facts and figures and objective information. It's no different on the boat. And, you know, it's sort of, I think it's really interesting as I sort of look back, you know, from when I sort of very, you know, got started with working for Grant. He hired me to be the performance analyst on the boat, to have the computers and to be trying to figure out how we were doing in getting the boat to sail faster. So that data, that having that objective data at the time, you know, of course, was incredibly important to be able to figure out, you know, how we were going to do in the Round the World Yacht Race. And then as I look to now, right, the latest version, you know, edition of the America's Cup, and you know, these boats have sensors from the top of the mast to the bottom of the foils, from the bow to the stern. Yep. You know, we have companies like Airbus involved, you know, the entire thing, like the sensors on board the boat are generating gigabytes and gigabytes of data every time they go out sailing. And so, you know, compared to where we were 30 years ago, it's just like it's a whole new world. Sure. But that data, you know, I feel like there's something about the, you know, the performance there. I mean, we've gone from boats that were sailing, you know, at 10 knots upwind to boats that are sailing at 40, 45 knots upwind, right? I mean, we've gone a, you know, 400% increase in speed, and part of that has come from data. Yeah. And I like to sort of, you know, I talk about that increase in performance, and I like to bring that back to that sort of business sense of, look what happens when you can reduce all of the drag that's on your business, right? All of the things that are getting in the way, and the, you know, the rework and the do-overs and the inefficiencies and all of the stuff that's dragging away on the business. You know, when we've done that in sailing boats, now we're going 4 times faster. It's amazing. Wouldn't you love to do that in your business too?
Absolutely. And it's about measuring the right things, isn't it? It's not measuring the ego stuff, but measuring the things that really make a difference.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got the vision, we've got the right people, we're measuring the right things. What comes next?
Well, so then the fourth component we talk about, of course, is the issues component, because when we get the vision, when we get the people, we have the data, you know, now we start having transparency, and we're really seeing the obstacles, the imperfections. And, you know, as we work with our clients, we're working with our clients to really help them figure out how to solve issues together as a team. And, when you look at the recent America's Cup, what stands out in my mind is, American Magic, right? The US Challenger, that fateful jibe they had around the top mark there, got hit by a gust, boat's up in the air and then suddenly slammed down on its side and gets a hole in it. Now the boat's starting to sink. I mean, what a challenge, what an issue, right? That now the team's got to come around and work together to be able to save the boat. And of course, then to also see all of the other challenges coming in and Team New Zealand as well, to be able to help save this boat and get them ready to sail again. And they get the boat back to the dock, right? And on the hard and inside the shed. And this, now everybody has to come together to patch the boat and to, to repair it and to be able to get it ready to sail again. And this is really where, if you've put the training in, if you've done the team building, if you've built the trust, all of those things now allow, the team to be able to come together to solve issues together, to solve them quickly and to have them go away instead of having them, if you don't have that trust, if you don't have that team building, then things can have the potential to devolve, right? You can get into the finger pointing and the blame and the, complaining.
And also not dealing with the real issues, right? Because I mean, we've seen this with the businesses we work with. Sometimes the issue that is presented is not necessarily the real issue. And so having the healthy team that's prepared to go a bit deeper and sort of actually really solve those issues at the root cause. Yeah,
and I see this with my clients often too. It's just sort of like this thing of, having meetings and trying to make decisions, but not really being able to be efficient about making decisions, having the same things just be repeating over and over and over.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to solve those things. And I've seen it with the teams that I've worked with, the ones that have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Off they go. Yeah.
Okay, great. So again, we've got vision, we've got the right people, we're measuring the right things, we're solving our issues at the root cause and putting them to bed once and for all. What comes next?
So the fifth component we work on is process, right? And this is about really documenting the things that we do and making sure they're done the right way and the best way every time. And I really feel, at Fire Yacht Design, this was one of, I think it's sort of like it was our secret sauce.
Yes.
We had a lot of secret sauces, but this was a really good one because we were really good at being able to figure out our design processes and document them so that we were able to then use them, right, to be able to get that consistency. And so, we were able to design boat after boat after boat that was able to win. And because we took everything that we learned and we put it into documenting our processes. And we talk about this, and we work with our clients in EOS. Like when you document your processes, then they're done the right way. And that's just a huge relief
yes.
to a business owner, right?
Yeah.
So many clients and business owners that I talk to, they're worried, they're stuck in the business, are things going to be done the right way? Or people are always kind of bringing them, should I do this? Should I do that? All of that goes away when you document your processes and get the consistency. And then once you have consistency, then we can scale. And, we were able to do that in a design sense as well. Like having the processes documented now allowed us to be able to do more work.
Yep.
And I think it was also, we had a lot of responsibility as designers, designing boats that are out in the middle of the Southern Ocean, thousands of miles away from land. No one's coming to help, right, if something goes wrong. So to be consistent and to make sure that we were designing those boats the right way, was incredibly important. And it was it's a really essential part of what we were doing as designers.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I often find when we start talking about sort of documenting processes, it can be a bit overwhelming for people at first, because if you think about all the things that are involved, it does feel like it's a huge amount of work. What would you say to that?
Well, so that's taking the approach of simplification. And part of the EOS model is to simplify and to use what we call the 80-20 approach, right? Document 20% of the steps that get you 80% of the way there.
Yep.
And when I look at the, the way we used to do it in the yacht design, we would have design sheets, a sheet of paper. Start at the top, work your way down,
Yeah.
and you get the answer at the bottom. And, that really, just step by step by step, but not to make it overly complicated, but to be able to simplify and to get that answer that's really close enough to be able to, so that what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be getting the process done.
Sure. Okay, great. So we've gone through all of these things and we're now sort of at the sixth component. What's the sixth component?
Traction.
Traction,
right?
yeah.
This is a great one, yes. And I really see that, when I look back at my career, I just sort of think about, I think about those times when we had great vision, working with clients that had great vision, and then really about that the separator around success, which is being able to bring the vision down to the ground and to get traction, right? Mm-hmm. And so what does that really mean? That really talks about, being able to get everybody on the same page, but then having established your vision, what are you actually going to be doing, say for the next year, if you've got a longer campaign, and then establishing that, and then what are you going to do for the next 90 days to really be able to focus on your priorities. And then what are you doing coming together as a team to be able to meet, to be able to solve issues, to be able to exchange information, on a weekly cadence. And, I was seeing, those successful teams that we worked with really had that ability to be able to come together, to make sure that we were meeting, to be able to exchange information, to get, the right stuff worked on within the team on a good cadence, to be able to, get traction on achieving our vision. So as I sort of the work that I'm doing with EOS now, I can look back over my career and see those points where, the successful teams were applying some of those principles, if not all of them, at various stages in their campaigns.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. So tell me, so in terms of, when I talk to people about EOS, it often feels very, very simple. And they say, if it's that simple, it can't possibly work. How would you respond to that?
Well, there is a simplicity to it, but it's a framework, right? And as an engineer and a project manager, I'm a systems guy, and this is what I've done my entire career. This is how, we can design boats that go sailing around the world. This is how we can design boats that fly above the surface of the water.
Yep.
By taking something that is complex and simplifying it, right? But it doesn't mean that it becomes something that, my 4-year-old could do or something like that in crayon, right?
Yeah.
It just means that we've been able to take something that's complex and to be able to separate it down and put it into a framework and to be able to work through a system to be able to achieve success.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's about that focus, isn't it? It brings focus, and it also brings that whole less is more. If everything's important, nothing's important. So by focusing on what's important, we actually get the results.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, just in terms of your career, both in EOS and in your business and the yacht, what's been sort of your biggest, professional best and personal best in that time, do you think?
Oh my gosh. So I really think, looking back at, I think looking back at some of the campaigns that I worked on back in the yacht design days, things like the Ilbrook Around the World campaign was, I've got a lot of sort of special memories about being involved with that team and things that we were able to achieve. Also Oracle Racing, that was another big time in my career, having a lot of responsibility about how we were pulling that design together and the things that we were doing. with that. I really look back on those, with sort of like a lot of sense of achievement about how we were able to move our capabilities forward in terms of what we're able to design and what we're able to achieve working together with teams.
Yep.
On a sort of more personal level, more recently in my business, I've been working with all sorts of teams and educating people and teaching people and being involved actually also with a lot of kids, helping them learn engineering skills. And there's a couple of girls in engineering school here in the US that wouldn't have been in engineering school if they hadn't been involved in some of the programs that I'd been running. And that's something I'm kind of happy about and proud of,
awesome.
because we need more women engineers in this world.
Absolutely.
A lot more.
Agree. Cool. So for our listeners, we like to always give them some practical tips that they can take away. So I really appreciate you sharing, your yachting analogy. I think it's absolutely fantastic. What were the 3 key things you would recommend people should look at doing to improve their business to get a better life?
Yeah, so the number one thing I start working on with my clients is actually self-regulation and self-control.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so it's an interesting thing, right? So as leaders and managers, we are helping all of our people metabolize their stress. Like everybody's bringing their problems to us as a leader. So we have to help everybody working through their stress, but all of that ends up on our shoulders as a leader. So we have to be able to deal with that, right? We have to be able to be calm in the middle of chaos, to be able to do these things, to be able to simplify, to delegate, to be able to predict all of the skills that we teach our clients. And so as part of that, no one ever taught me this concept, earlier on in my career, but there's things that you can do to be able to manage your stress. And part of that is to sort of have some knowledge about what goes on inside you in terms of things that trigger you, to be aware of these sorts of things. And then to also, what I work on with some of my clients is, to be aware of when you're getting triggered, then there's things that you can do. And one of those things is to engage with the breath, because our breath is the remote control for our nervous system. Yep. Right? And our physiology and our psychology are not separate. So all of these things are sort of all bound up together there. So I'm just starting off. The first thing is just engage with your breath. And when things are getting chaotic, just feel your breath and start getting back in touch with where you are. So that's, it's not part of the EOS curriculum.
No, but it's certainly, it's part of being a better person, which leads to being, better leader.
Yeah, a better leader. I mean, it's sort of like what's that phrase? I'm not going to get it right, but it's sort of like if everyone around you is losing their head and, you can't remember the rest of it now, but.
I know what you're talking about. I can't either, so I can't help you out there, I'm afraid. Okay, so that's the first one. So self-regulation and then self-control. So number 2?
Well, so number 2 is, the things that we do work on with our clients in EOS, which is really around people, right? I mean, being able to surround yourself with getting the right people. I think that that's so incredibly important, because it really, you can't achieve great things without having great people, right? So I think that that's sort of like the second thing, is to really start looking at who you're bringing onto the team and your relationships with them and building that trust, getting everybody on board with heading in the right direction. Perfect. So that's number 2.
And the last one?
The last one, well, I'm a systems guy, so it's, get a process in place, right? This is the project manager and the engineer and me. So anytime we've got a problem.
Bring a system or process in,
let's put a process in place. Let's get a system in place to be able to solve this. And I really believe that. And sometimes though, some of the issues that we're dealing with are what people call soft issues, right? Which are not soft issues at all. They're the hard things to deal with. How do you have a conversation with somebody you know, a difficult conversation with somebody? How do you hold people accountable?
Yep.
How do you work with your team around things like stress and burnout? These are not easy things, but we do actually have processes and systems that we can put in place to be able to have conversations, to be able to really get on the same page with everybody in our organization about where we're going and how we're going to get there.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And I think, you know, you talk about system and a process. I mean, in reality, EOS is an operating system. It's part of that, bringing that system into your business, which is what I think we both love about EOS. So yeah, okay, great. Hey, Steve, we're just about running out of time. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me this morning. I don't know what time it is over there at the moment. I'm assuming it's later in the afternoon, is it?
It's 5:45 in the evening here.
In the evening. Okay, well, look, I appreciate you giving us your time. If people want to get in contact with you, so your business is called Catylator, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you, Steve?
Probably through email, steve@catylator.com.
Yep.
There's also my website at, of course, catylator.com. And I'm on LinkedIn at Stephen A. Morris.
Stephen A. Morris, fantastic. Hey, look, thank you so much for your time. Really, really love the yachting analogies. I think it's fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, well, thanks, Debra. It's been a great conversation. And I certainly hope that some of the yachting stories can help down in New Zealand, spread the word, spread the idea that, you know, EOS, it really is this complete proven system. And I love working with my clients on it. I love the feelings of relief and the, oh yes, exhilaration. We've got a plan in place. We're going to get there. That's awesome.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you very much.